This week, on the record, grandstanding in the Senate showdown devolves into a Missouri macho man maneuver. Why Josh Hawley and Lucas Kunce squared off but did not debate at the Missouri State Fair. What's in store at the Democratic National Convention? Missouri delegate and St. Louis Alderwoman Daniela Velasquez is on the record. But first, behind the scenes in Ferguson. 10 years after the uprising, the new chief defends one of his own as an officer fights for his life in a coma. It's all coming up right now.
This police department, this Ferguson Police Department, since 2014, has been a punching bag for this community. The police department back in 2014, we don't even have them officers here anymore. So what are you protesting? These officers not even here no more. Everything that the activist community has advocated for, as far as body-worn cameras, implicit bias training, crisis intervention training, all this stuff, we have done all of this. What are we protesting? What is it? We even changed the uniforms at this police department because people said that the old uniforms triggered people. What are we doing? 10 years later, I got an officer fighting for his life. It's enough, and I'm done with it.
Those were the passionate remarks from Ferguson Police Chief Troy Doyle Saturday after Officer Travis Brown suffered a severe brain injury when a protest turned violent. Welcome to The Record. I'm Mark Maxwell. Several suspects face criminal charges now after that protest turned violent in Ferguson last weekend. The demonstration centering around the 10th anniversary of the police killing of Michael Brown, also commemorating the uprising that followed and the pushes for social justice. 3 days later, Chief Doyle approached the mic once again, this time with a call to action.
Those of you, and I think you know who you are, that are in leadership roles in this region, have talked about, got a lot of face time, talking about the anniversary of this coming up. If you haven't condemned this act or condemned what happened to my officer, then you're part of the problem.
Ferguson Police Chief Troy Doyle is now on the record. It's good to have you with us.
Nice to be here, Mark.
You were the subject of something of a viral video or two over the last several weeks. A lot of people tuned in to hear what you had to say. I think it's because of the position you're in, the moment in history you're in. What did you make of this big reaction to what you had to say? You know,
my PIO prepared some talking points for me that day, and I knew Travis, obviously, he's one of my employees, but he's also a personal friend of mine, and at the last second I decided to speak from the heart. What came out organic was just me just talking in the moment. An authentic moment. Can you give our audience any peek behind the curtain into a lot of people are wondering or praying for Officer Travis Brown. Can you tell us at all about his condition? Yes, I've been up there just about every day. Plan on going up there again today. Travis is he's critical but stable right now. Everybody has their fingers crossed. We're keeping him in our prayers, just hoping that he comes out well. Without getting too personal, are doctors giving any indication about what recovery looks like for him from this point? No, it's kind of hard to tell right now. They say it's still too early for them to really give a detailed prognosis, if that makes sense. But again, we're just hoping that he makes progress. One of the things you mentioned, you sort of called protesters' motives into question, if I can say it that way, because you asked the question, what are you protesting at this point? As you've looked back at it, what is your best understanding of what they were protesting? I still don't know, to be quite honest. I guess what bothers me more than anything is that the officers that were there in Ferguson at 2014 are no longer there, other than maybe 4 or 5 or something. It's essentially a brand new police department, Mark, and these officers that are there now actually got into the profession because they wanted to be part of the change, they want to be part of the solutions. You know, they want to be productive members of this society. For those officers to be subjected to what they had to be subjected to was just unbelievable. Was there something about the lateness of the hour of this incident that added to it? Because at some point there was a decision, I assume your decision, to go out there and start making arrests. Absolutely. What was the tipping point? So the tipping point, even prior to, we knew it was a planned protest. The instructions I gave my staff was that, hey, look, you know, if they protest, as long as they exercise their First Amendment rights peacefully, we're good with that. The instructions that they were given was if anyone tried to commit any type of violence or destroyed any type of property, it's only when we would act. In fact, it got to the point to where the protesters went out in the streets. There were several vehicles that had to avoid hitting some of the protesters. So I made a decision to park a fully marked police vehicle on each side of South Florissant Road, just to block traffic off so they can protest peacefully. And again, it was, for the most part, peacefully for a while, up until around the 11 o'clock hours when things start to get pretty aggressive.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying your officers were there to protect protesters until things turned a little bit more raucous, and then there was some arrest that went into play there. I want to ask you about the importance of local leaders speaking out, because that was another one of your comments that you made that sounded like not only did you want to get something off your chest, but you didn't want to be alone in that. You wanted other people joining you.
Absolutely. So if we're looking at this thing holistically, again, there's a lot of people that came to prominence out of the 2014 uprising. And what I was asking for is that those same individuals also need to speak up when something bad happened to one of my police officers. I mean, everyone witnessed this. I mean, there's no doubt of what happened. And not only am I looking for it, our community in Ferguson is looking for it. I mean, they go through these exercises each and every year. And this just happened to be one of the years that unfortunately one of the officers get hurt. And we're looking for where are the people that are condemning these actions.
This is a political program, and I wonder how you look at the politics of this, because there are some people who protest injustice.
Yes.
There are some people who protest police.
Yes.
There are some people who protest police abuses of power.
Yes.
How do you see all of that evolving from then until now?
You know, again, I think if we all be honest with ourselves, I think that what took place in 2014, tragedy, horrific as we look at it. But I think a lot of great reforms came out of that. Again, Ferguson Police Department was one of the first police departments to implement body-worn cameras, dash cameras, all the training that we received. But somewhere in this process, we have to get to the point where the politicians in our region have to say, okay, look, Ferguson is doing just about everything that we ask them to do. Why don't we come and join them and advocate for them, celebrate the goodness, and maybe tell other police departments, maybe you guys should be doing what Ferguson Police Department is doing.
Mm-hmm. Do you see, I don't know how fringe the position is, but there are some, you know, democratic socialists on the far left and those who see police officers as a symbol protecting capitalism, protecting property rights, and they do want to agitate and provoke that idea, and police are sometimes caught in the middle of this like ideological debate.
Right.
How do you address that?
It's tough, but we try to stay away from the politics. You know, when our officers are hired, they're sworn in to protect life, you know, liberty and property. We try to avoid the politics end of it. There's people on the far right that think law enforcement should be this way, and there's obviously people
Back to blue no matter what. Yeah.
Yes, no, exactly. Back to blue no matter what. And there's people on the far left that, just being candid, just anti-police. We just got to be fair. We just have to look at things fair. And again, no matter where you fall at on the political spectrum, you know, right is right and wrong is wrong. We just got to stick with that.
So I do want to know where you were in 2014. What was your experience around Ferguson?
Oh man, that was unbelievable. 2014, I was a lieutenant colonel with St. Louis County Police Department at the time. Actually, I was a captain when the uprising initially took place. To go down there in West Florissant to see the Quick Trip burning, the large gathering of folks down there. I mean, it was a lot of anger down there. Some of it was justifiably so. I mean, I grew up in, you know, North County, in North City, so I understand, you know, growing up as an African-American teenager, you know, being stopped. I was stopped and profiled quite often by law enforcement. So I knew the underlying current that was going on, but it was just unbelievable to watch.
You mentioned you're a county guy. There's a city issue also here. One of the protesters who was arrested and later charged by the county prosecutor is Keith Rose.
Yes.
Not only was Keith Rose an alternate delegate to the DNC, he has stepped down from that position. He also is a Democratic committeeman in the city of St. Louis, and he was recently appointed to and confirmed to the Civilian Oversight Board, which means he would be in this watchdog position, holding police accountable, as it were. And yet he was there protesting in Ferguson and arrested. What message would it send to police in the St. Louis region, if the city of St. Louis allowed him to remain on that oversight board, do you agree with some of the aldermen who are calling for him to be removed?
You know, I don't want to engage in city politics. However, I will say, though, that how do you put an individual on such a board that may have such a biased opinion? So, for example, if an officer happened to be disciplined in regards to a decision that he or she made, does that subject the city to some type of lawsuit when they know that he had a biased opinion? I mean, there's a number of different things that can come out of something like that, for sure.
Chief Doyle, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're back in a moment.
We got a debate today? I don't know what you're talking about. We got a debate today? You don't know. I read your letter to the Farm Bureau. Are you going to sue the Farm Bureau? Dude, come on. You're really obsessed with this stuff. Are you going to debate me today?
In Sedalia, a Senate spectacle worthy of a populist prize fight. A square-jawed Marine squaring off with a slick-haired, silver-tongued lawyer. Thursday morning at the Missouri State Fair, Senator Josh Hawley and Democratic candidate Lucas Kunce in a lengthy sparring debate interrupting the governor's ham breakfast. So what the heck was that sideshow really all about? Let's go back to where it all began. January 6, 2023, Lucas Kunce launches his campaign with this video showing an actor dressing up like Josh Hawley running away, mocking him for running from that riotous mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol 2 years before. It was 4 months later when Hawley published a book titled Manhood. We'll show you that cover right there. 4 months after that, 1 year ago at the State Fair, Kunce sees Hawley at the governor's ham breakfast then and walks toward him, but aides dutifully shrug him aside and whisk Hawley away. So you get the idea. Kunce was setting out to emasculate Hawley in a sense. Now Hawley is hitting back, sparring at campaign stops with jabs at Kunce, saying he's prancing or he wants to wear makeup. All of that build up to the moment when Kunce won the Democratic nomination last Tuesday night. Hawley immediately challenged him to a debate at the State Fair outside the ham breakfast, same spot, same time. KSDK and our broadcast partners reached out and offered to televise that with moderators. Kunce accepted. Hawley refused to accept. After our offer letter came in, the Missouri State Fair Commission told the campaigns, take this scrum outside, no debating on the fairgrounds. And the Missouri Farm Bureau, a politically active group that has already publicly endorsed Hawley, wrote a counter letter and offered up to moderate a separate event. Hawley quickly accepted that one, though Kunce's campaign quickly pointed out federal election law and the tax code that allows the Farm Bureau to operate as a nonprofit prohibit groups like that to host debates.
He's really obsessed with this stunt, man. Already got the Farm Bureau and the State Fair in trouble.
Let's do it.
So is this
Are you
like
ready? We've got it right across the pleasant place.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. Or is this a no? Come on, man.
Josh, man, we got 5 televised debates we agreed to.
Hey, we've got one right here. Let's debate. Let's debate. Unbelievable. So this is a no for today, huh?
You're kind of cartoony, man.
I tell you what,
it's a little weird.
don't threaten to sue the Farm Bureau, man. That's crazy.
Josh, if you need a safe space, I agreed to Fox News.
We can do it right now.
You should feel safe.
Let's do it right now, dude. Let's debate today.
Tough guy politics. Look, I don't know how many debates we will actually see, but prizefighter frontman and promotions ringmaster Don King would certainly be proud of the showmanship and spectacle leading up to this one, now just 11 weeks away. Monday night, President Joe Biden takes the stage at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and one of the Missouri delegates in that United Center Convention Hall will be Daniela Velasquez, St. Louis Alderwoman. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, set the stage for us. President Biden was going to be taking that stage, basking in the glory. Now he's exiting stage left, making room for Kamala Harris to come in and become the nominee. What are we in for?
Well, it's my first convention, so it will be a learning experience for me. I'm excited. I think every delegate that I've talked to is really amped up to be a part of this historic moment. I think with all convention things, there's going to be a lot of conversations, a lot of parties, a lot of speeches, and I think we're just excited to dive right in.
Some of the anticipation from independent voters and casual observers that maybe aren't party insiders, some of that anticipation is a bit deflated because we know the outcome. There isn't an open convention where delegates are in this position where candidates are wringing your arms and, you know, trying to win your support. It's already decided. Did you expect that that would be the case going into this? Or how did the party manage to coalesce so quickly behind one person?
Well, I think a couple of things. I mean, one, it was essentially already decided when we pledged to be Biden delegates, which I pledged to be a Biden delegate, and then repledged my vote to Kamala, now Kamala or Vice President Harris and Governor Walz.
But you had a choice. You didn't have to do that.
Right. Well, I think one, I mean, very much appreciate Joe Biden's service to this country. I think he's been a remarkable president, and history will reflect that. I also think that Vice President Harris's nomination is historic. I think it's exciting to see, frankly, two people who come from kind of normal, everyday backgrounds. You know, they're both non-Ivy League educated people who made it up the ranks their own way, which I think is exciting. And I think that, you know, why nobody and no candidate is perfect, I think that as a believer in democracy and a Democrat, we've got a responsibility to really to defeat Trump in November. And I think that this ticket does that, and I do feel an obligation that I want to have to support that.
We're now 10 years removed from the uprising in Ferguson, and I know you were connected to the Ferguson Commission. As you look back on that, how do you reflect on how this region has been wounded, has healed, has tried to come together, has stumbled over these last 10 years? I know it's a kind of a big question, but when you look at that pathway to unity, it's not always that easy. It's kind of hard.
I mean, one of the things I remember from my time with the Ferguson Commission, I think it was the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation that said, if you're committing to racial equity, you should commit to no less than working on it for a generation in years. And I think that that's true. I think that as we look back on 10 years from now, certainly there's some things that have changed, like the fines and fees for municipalities as revenue, like the study that Arch City Defenders had. I think that there is still an opportunity for understanding about why the life of Michael Brown matters to some people. And I still have, you know, I was a little shocked to see the amount of vitriol and anger at some of those posts still 10 years from now from people who have a different perspective. So I think that we still have room to heal and to grow. And I think that certainly with issues with equity when it comes to criminal justice, when it comes to health equity, and talking about racial equity, we still have work to do. I think that in some places we've gotten better, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
So equity, empathy, and it sounds like you can't cure big problems with a soundbite. It takes a little more than that. Just to recap your thoughts there. Interesting perspective. I do want to ask you about a current thing that could become an issue before the Board of Aldermen. Keith Rose, who was appointed to the Civilian Oversight Board, someone who would be a part of this transparency effort to bring about greater transparency in the city, was at the protest in Ferguson. Chief Troy Doyle, while he says he doesn't want to step into city politics, says it might not be someone who's very objective in that role after he's been charged with, during that protest. The criminal process has to play out. Reverend Darrell Gray has said let that process play out. He doesn't want to see him booted. Some of your colleagues on the board do want to see him removed. Where do you stand on that issue?
Sure. So I was I stood by with my colleagues from the 7th and 14th Ward yesterday in sending a letter to the rest of the Public Safety Committee saying that we should let Mr. Rose's case have its time in court. There also is a process within the COB, right? So the COB can effect to remove him, and then that be approved by the Board of Aldermen.
And if that comes to you?
I think we'd have to see the conditions, but if that, you know, that's why that process is there. I think the other thing is, you know, if you look at the hearing where we decided to confirm him and to confirm other people, we all said that there should be a diversity of thought or a spectrum of thought or in experiences with policing on the board.
So you're comfortable having him there for now?
Well, he's recused himself from all cases going forward, and I agree with that decision. And then we will see how what he decides moving forward and what the COB decides. And also, I think it's fair to say that you know, just because my colleagues and I may stand apart publicly on this issue doesn't mean that we're not working together to try and find a solution that's ultimate for the better, that's for the best of the city.
If we have more time, we could ask you about some of the vacancy issues in St. Louis and how you hope to tackle those. We'll get to hopefully cover some of those developments in the days and weeks to come.
Sounds great.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The stage is set for a historic moment in American presidential politics. Monday night, President Joe Biden will pass the reins of the Democratic Party to his Vice President, Kamala Harris, and officially forego a chance to seek a second full term. So let's check the record. Only once before has that happened. And while Lyndon Johnson's maneuvers at the 1968 convention were undertaken during slightly different circumstances, the outcome will largely be the same. An incumbent president and his party working behind the scenes to usher his vice president in behind him at a time when the party was itself deeply divided over war and peace in foreign affairs. We will hit the road to Chicago to bring you these historic moments and milestones in modern day, and we'll see you right back here at the same time next week with the record on the road from Chicago. Until then, we're off the record.